Back again. It's Andy and Tim. We are the two P's in the Sunday podcast. Hello, Tim. We're back again, dealing with the devil, I hope, so we can punish him, or at least the Antichrist.
Hello, Andy. It's good to be with you. Yes, we're going to give him a good, proper spanking is what we're going to do today. A good spanking.
Yeah, it'd be nice to understand, for the listeners that don't always understand. And I want to give a big shout out to Patrick O'Carroll. I've been publishing his work on these very complex subjects, but he's very good at explaining. If you understand the Antichrist and all that, he's very good at this sort of stuff. And the Kardashians and the Israelis and all that stuff. Everything that you wake up and breathe. So Patrick O'Carroll. He's on many blogs. Just Google his name. He's on Freedom Talk Radio. He's on henrymako.com. He's all over the place. Yeah, brilliant guy, Tim. I've never met him, but I always seem to publish his work like I do when I can. George Freund from Canada. He's got some good, up-to-date information that's worth publishing.
Yeah, indeed. So I thank George for sharing this article with us. And I found it very enlightening and disturbing, this article by Patrick O'Carroll. Sanhedrin honors Trump as Preparatory Antichrist. Now, you remember those old Roman coins? I'm sure you've all seen or heard of Roman coins that were minted with special observances in Roman history. Well, this one is a coin that the Grand Sanhedrin, if you don't know what the Grand Sanhedrin is, let me enlighten you. There it is. That's the coin. Thank you for showing it, Andy. The Grand Sanhedrin is the body that had Jesus' execution ordered. They I believe, are a malevolent Luciferian body existing within the hierarchy of Judaism. And this body forms what's called the Shabbat, and they want to not only do they want these two preparatory antichrists of Trump as the Gentile preparatory antichrist and Netanyahu as the Jewish preparatory antichrist, but they want to install the final ultimate antichrist in the temple in Jerusalem by 2027. And to get to that stage, the preparations for the inauguration of the Antichrist will be dire. You want to talk about tribulation? This will be that and more. This is going to be a nightmare if they get their wish, if they get their dream. Oh, God, it's very scary, Andy. Very scary indeed. Okay, so...
Sounds it.
Yeah. In February 2025, the Sanhedrin, the Grand Sanhedrin, minted this Trump Antichrist coin engraved with the memo, the Cyrus Balfour Trump Declaration, 1917 to 2017. So I believe the Balfour Declaration dates back to, 1917 or so. And this was the declaration that allowed for the state of Israel to be founded. As for Cyrus the Great, as he was known, this was the king that allowed for the captive Jewish people to return from the Babylonian captivity to the Holy Land. And so Trump is put in that category of Cyrus and Balfour as being the enabler for the rise of the lion, the rise of the Israeli people, the rise of Israel and its fortunes. Trump has a very important role to play in the end of times timeline. First, one, he must enable the genocide of hundreds of millions of Christians using war as a pretext. Well, World War I and World War II accomplished a genocide of Christians amounting to several million. We'll get into that. But there's going to be a great purge of Christians if they get their wish. We're sending this warning out, as others have, because we don't want this horrible atrocity to take place. To enable the orchestration and launch of World War III, the Shabbat version of the Albert Pike plan. Albert Pike is a villainous Luciferian character from the American Civil War period, and he was in contact with Giuseppe Mazzini. I think probably they were both associated with Grand Orient Freemasonry. The Grand Orient Secret Society was a specifically Luciferian secret society that was, I believe, originally founded by the Bavarian Illuminati. Anyway, Albert Pike was planning. In fact, he talked about the plan for World War I, World War II, and World War III, and he was planning World War III with Giuseppe Mazzini, who was the founder of the Italian Mafia, a Grand Orient Freemason. And they, two of them, were corresponding and planning World War III. I remember reading about that years ago. Albert Pike wrote Morals and Dogma. I have no idea why he chose that title, other than it's a perverse or perverted version of morality, which basically upsets morality and turns it upside down, so that he's endorsing everything evil. But we've seen that kind of twisted thinking before. And this is outlined by a very, very good presentation of the secret covenant that I shared with Andy. So I'm hoping he will share that with the listening audience and get that message out too. The secret covenant is really very, very disturbing. You should give that a listen if you get that link. Number 3, enable the installation of the final Antichrist at or before the 2nd of October 2027, who is planned to enslave mankind under what is officially called a no-hide regime, but unofficially dubbed the Talmudic New World Order. Now, if you've never read the Talmud, presumably in translation, I don't think many people would be able to read it in the original, those that are Gentiles, at least. But the Talmud is a very disturbing text, which I feel has, and I'm not alone, has atrocious things to say about Gentiles and what should be allowed to be done to them. Anyway, no-hide laws were passed in the United States, and it's quite frightening and disturbing. I remember a senator questioning Oliver North when that whole Iran-Contra scandal was taking place back in the day. And Oliver North was very, very cagey and very, very uncomfortable to be cross-examined on Rex 83. What specifically and exactly it had to do with was never discussed in that Senate hearing. The leader of the Senate hearing committee called for this to go into closed session. So obviously Oliver North basically gave him the evil eye and said, if you don't stop this and shut this down now, you're dead. And that evil eye caused the whole thing to go into secrecy mode. So we never heard what Rex 83 was in that session. But let's just say it has to do with the camps, the military camps in the United States, and what the plan was for these military camps. Well, I can tell you the plan is not great. We've learned that there's 30,000 guillotines that have been installed in these camps. And this is so horrific and so frightening. I'll have to share it slowly so that you have time.
Are we going to get our heads chopped off?
Yes. So Cyrus was a Persian king who allowed the Jews to return from their Babylonian captivity to Israel. So the coin that's minted here is meant to commemorate Cyrus Balfour, who was responsible, Lord Balfour, for the creation of the State of Israel, and Trump. Okay. Trump not only allowed the Jewish people to act per their understanding and not only provided Israel with the weapons it needed, but he actively participated in the subterfuge preceding the attack and in the attack itself, it's been alleged. Oh. And this is all part of Israel's recent military campaign called Operation Rising Lion. Okay. So in February 2025, Jerusalem's Grand Sanhedrin reconfirmed that the Zio-fascist Donald Trump is the Gentile preparatory Antichrist who must prepare the way for the final Antichrist. The Shabbat wants the latter to be installed in Jerusalem by October 2nd, 2027. The Sanhedrin sent the following congratulatory letter to Zio-fascist Trump dated 12th of February 2025. You have been elected as Cyrus was in his time to fulfill a heavenly mission. Or a hellish one. Anyway, Judaic demonology foresees two antagonists, a preparatory Antichrist in every age, but one final Antichrist in the end times. The preparatory Antichrist is often Jewish, but is sometimes a Gentile. But as of now, the Shabbat has officially appointed two simultaneous preparatory Antichrists. Donald Trump as the Gentile preparatory Antichrist, officially appointed for this role in July of 2024, and Benjamin Netanyahu as the Jewish preparatory Antichrist. Any preparatory Antichrist is called Moshe ben Yosef, but the final Antichrist is called Moshe ben David. Okay, so the Shabbat Doomsday Cult is a Gnostic, dualistic, Luciferian doomsday cult that follows the traditions of Sabbatean Frankism. I remember I met a woman, a journalist named Janet Phelan, who was Jewish. And I said years ago, I suspect that there is a Luciferian or satanic cult operating within Judaism. And probably the same goes for Christianity. Probably there's such a body within the Roman Catholic Church. But at any rate, she said, yes, they're called the Sabbateans. So that's coming from a Jewish journalist. Her name was Janet Phelan. Okay, so the traditions of the Sabbatean Frankism is a twisted notion resembling Albert Pike's morals and dogma of salvation through sin. The Shabbat must balance its good deeds with its evil deeds. For instance, if it helps 1 million Khazarian children in the Antichrist state of Israel, it naturally feels the need to genocide 1 million Arab Semitic children in Gaza, which is roughly the tally genocided in the Gaza Holocaust. I mean, it's interesting that the so-called Jewish leadership labels anyone who criticizes them of being anti-Semitic when clearly the genociding of 1 million Semitic children in Gaza is substantially anti-Semitic. So the hypocrisy is quite amazing, really. The main goals of the Shabbat in the near future: number one, launch World War III so as to resume the Christian Holocaust, which so far only genocided 150 million Christians in World War I and World War II. Oh, how unfortunate for them that they didn't achieve a higher tally in those two world wars. But they'll aim to complete their job this time round. The holy rabbi, holy in inverted commas, please, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, led the Shabbat in 1951 to 94 and helped to plan World War III until 1994. His grandfather was the, inverted commas, holy Rabbi Shalom Ber Schneerson, who was the Chabad leader in 1892 to 1920, who helped orchestrate World War I for the genocide of 60 million Christians. Oh, is that all? Dear, dear. Okay, so finally, his father was the holy, inverted commas, Rabbi Yusuf Yitzhak Schneerson, who was the Chabad leader in 1920 to 50, who helped to orchestrate World War II for the genocide of 85 million Christians. What's interesting about these rabbis is they all have long beards, just like the one worn by Karl Marx and Albert Pike. It's apparently this long beard is a sign or a characteristic of being a Luciferian.
Is it like the New World Order they have symbols, don't they? Is
Yes.
that a symbol?
It is a symbol indeed, yes.
Wow.
I have a friend who does comparative likenesses between people, and he found a remarkable likeness between Albert Pike and Karl Marx, whose real name is actually Mordecai Levy. So Karl Marx is a pen name, basically. It's a pseudonym. The real name is Mordecai Levy. And this man, Nigel, is a specialist on finding facial resemblances between people, and he's even been used by the police for this special gift that he has. And I want to say that there has been allegations that George Washington was killed and replaced by Adam Weishaupt, who was the Jesuit priest that actually founded the Bavarian Illuminati, and they apparently were practically doppelganger lookalikes. And I know there's a letter that I read that George Washington wrote to General Cornwallis saying that in 200 years, the United States would become a Judaic nation. Why would George Washington, a Christian, ever suggest such a thing? Was that actually Adam Weishaupt posing as George Washington? Anyway. Number 2, decapitate most U.S. Christians under the no-hide laws. By the way, the no-hide laws were brought into being through executive order under George Herbert Walker Bush, better known as George Bush Sr. Today, 30,000 guillotines are being stored on U.S. military bases to implement the no-hide laws, which were placed on U.S. law books back in 1991 by House Joint Resolution HJ Res 104 ENR. Under the no-hide laws, all U.S. Christians will be decapitated using these guillotines once martial law is declared for the USA, which has not yet been declared. So presumably under the Trump administration, there's going to be a declaration of martial law. What would happen as a national emergency that would justify the imposition of martial law? Well, wait and see. We'll have to be watching vigilantly. If each of these 30,000 guillotines were to genocide only 1,000 U.S. Christians per day, that would mean it would only take 8 days for the planned genocide of all 240 million U.S. Christians. Horrifying. Number 3, installed the Antichrist in 1994. The head of the Shabbat, the holy inverted commas, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, stated that the Antichrist can only arrive if the Jews have first done their inverted commas holy duty by genociding most Christians. That can only mean that the Shabbat wants most Christians to be genocided by the 2nd of October 2027. Oh, God. Andy, any comment?
It sounds like they want rid of us quickly then.
Yeah.
I do. I get most of it, but then I lose track when it comes to Trump.
Oh.
So is he born a bad guy? Is he now being converted into one, or?
I suspect that for his entire career, he's been groomed for the position that he was meant to take, which is the preparatory Gentile Antichrist.
I mean, the only reason I can agree with what you're saying, being not as well educated as you, there are some strange things happening in Gaza, and the strange things happening in Israel, and he's behind all of them, and Iran. So, yeah, it points to what you're saying is true. I'm trying to get the listeners to, that's an example of something going strange at the moment.
In keeping with Judaic prophecy pertaining to the end of times, they have to clear out all non-Jewish elements from Israel and have a complete sovereign control of the entire territory and its borders by that time frame of October 2nd, 2027. So Gaza needs to be cleared, and Trump has stated that the United States will take control over Gaza. So obviously plans are in place to clear the territory of all anti-Israeli elements.
Yeah, and also we know in this country and other European countries that they're trying, from the ordinary public's point of view, we don't mind people coming to our country and making a living and whatever, but they're coming in mass numbers now, as if, once you could say, spot the black guy, it's now spot the white guy, because we're getting Asians, we're getting blacks, we're getting Somalians, we're getting Iranians, Iraqis, everybody. So that's even on a simple level. They're trying to get rid of the Christian, people.
White population, yeah, of course.
White population, yeah. And even the most simplest people in the UK understand that. So, wow. If it's all got to be done in Gaza by 27, God, there's going to be a problem. Yeah, it's going to be mass slaughter then, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the Canadian Prime Minister just announced that Muslim values are Canadian values. I mean, that's the most insane statement I've ever heard anyone make. I mean, a traditionally Christian country, which has its own brand of values, which are, an amalgam of different value systems over time, but clearly Canadian values are liberal democratic values, and I'm sorry, it's not exactly in harmony with Muslim Sharia law. I mean, it's absolutely amazing to me that he's gotten away with that statement. It's absurd, frankly.
Well, especially when he's a new prime minister, yeah. And they're trying to get Sharia law all over the UK too. It's what's the word? The
Mass
strongest will
beheadings,
win and the weakest will fall.
you will expect that mass beheadings of Christians under that regime. I think that's the plan. And whereas the no hide laws are going to take care of business in the United States with mass beheadings being ordered through the no hide laws.
It's a scary time to be alive.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The Sanhedrin Court of Witchcraft. The Sanhedrin was reestablished in Jerusalem in October of 2004 as a religious court comprising holy, inverted commas, rabbis who want to install the Antichrist close to their own venue in Jerusalem. Overall, the Grand Sanhedrin is more religious, and religious in quotations, whereas the Shabbat is more political and financial. However, Talmud Sanhedrin 17a decrees that a man must be a practitioner of sorcery in order to qualify for the appointment to the Grand Sanhedrin. Thus, clearly, the Sanhedrin has much more to do with witchcraft than with actual religion. While the Talmudic New World Order is called a no-hide regime, so why the Talmudic New World Order is called a no-hide regime? The Jewish Encyclopedia envisages a no-hide regime as a world order immediately preceding the universal reign of the Talmud, a satanic Jewish hegemony in which the Talmud reigns, which is also the very reason why the Talmudic New World Order is thus called. Here we might surmise that the Antichrist is in fact the Talmud. It reminds me of the Sikh religion where the Guru Granth is their actual holy book, the text, the Guru Granth. When I first heard the name Guru Granth, I was assuming I'd be entering the temple and bowing before some enlightened leader called their Guru Granth, but no, it's a book. Anyway, in Hilkot Melachim of the Mishneh Torah, the holy rabbi, inverted commas holy, Maimonides, ruled that a Jewish court must enforce obedience and pass judgment on Gentiles. Maimonides also decreed there that any non-Jewish nation not subject to our jurisdiction will be the target of a Jewish holy war. Well, think of nations that were in opposition to the state of Israel and what became of the leaders of those countries and what became of the countries themselves. Think back timeline-wise and consider that. Maybe consider Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. Maybe consider Saddam Hussein in Iraq. Maybe consider what became of Syria. On the 13th of July, 2024, the Shabbat staged the Butler PA ritual. This anointed Shabbat member and Zio-fascist Trump as the preparatory Antichrist, who symbolically submitted to being a Shabbat slave in his new capacity as the Moshiach ben Yusuf. I know this is a lot to take in, folks, and I know it's insane, and yet it's couched in very formalistic terminology and seems also very legit. But you can see the criminality and the psychopathy behind all of this nonsense. Okay, so this Judaic ritual is mentioned in the Old Testament in Exodus chapter 21, verse 6. Then his master must take him before the judges. He shall take him to the door of the doorpost and pierce his ear with an awl. Then he will be his servant for life. And in Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 17, then you shall take an awl and thrust it through his ear to the door, and he shall be your servant forever. And also elsewhere in the Old Testament, there are references to this. Well, when Trump was allegedly shot, the wound pierced his ear, according to the mainstream media's account of the event. But we weren't there, and we don't know how his ear became pierced in actual fact. But irregardless of how the ear became wounded, symbolically it corresponds with this perverse ritual of having the ear pierced and the slave basically posted to the doorpost by the ear. Insanity prevails, Andy. Unbelievable.
It sure does.
Now, I should mention that recently Trump called for the charges that have been made against Netanyahu to be dropped as a travesty and a massive miscarriage of justice from the preparatory Gentile Antichrist point of view. So clearly we've got the Gentile Antichrist, the preparatory Antichrist, protecting the Jewish preparatory Antichrist.
What happens if the Antichrist departments, different sections of the Antichrist fall out?
What if he pulls out? Decides not to do his job? I'm sure
like one represents one group of people, the other one represents the other group of people. If they fall out and they're both pro-Antichrist, what happens?
I suppose you could have a war between the Antichrists, eh? Well, anyway, the final Antichrist is supposed to have sworn allegiance from all the inhabitants of Israel as the one for which oneness, absolute oneness and unity is required. And for that matter, the whole world is supposed to submit and bow before the Antichrist, who will, blasphemy or not, declare himself God. Yeah, right. A God that stinks to high hell. I just don't know, man. It's just craziness.
Yeah, another little bit on the religious side of it then.
Yeah.
So the Christians are praying to their God, the Muslims to their God, the Hindus to their God, and so on.
Yes.
if the Antichrist can get in the way of all that, is there really still some type of God? Or is it kind of an energy that is within you, and the more you're good to people, the more some magic thing gives you happiness back? Or is it really a creator still?
Well, I mean, I've seen a video of a rabbi that was actually calling for the genocide of all idol worshiping people of the world, which includes Hindus because they worship idols. It includes Christians because we worship idols of Jesus on his crucifix. We worship idols of the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus. We have idols within the Christian religion. Let's be honest, we do. So any religion that has idol worship is slated for genocide. Now, the Muslims get off the hook here because they do not allow for any graven images or any iconic idol type statues in their holy sites and their mosques. No, absolutely forbidden. If you go into a mosque, you see a lot of mosaic designs, elaborate and quite beautiful, but you will not see an image of Allah or Muhammad or any of the Muslim hierarchy. Nothing iconographic, no iconography, and no idols. Absolutely not. But if these insane rabbis get their wish, the Hindu people would be genocided for their idol worship, the Christians also for their idol worship, and presumably Buddhists, because they have all kinds of statues of the Buddha at their holy sites and around about. So yeah, it's craziness, but there you go. Also in
But in a
February,
way, in a way that a lot of these religions do believe in the Armageddon, don't they? That we all start again and get the good people back.
well, I mean, with the Hindu religion, you have the claim that we are in the age of Kali, which is the last, most degenerate age, and it will end up degenerating until it reaches a state of degradation beyond which no possible redemption could be achieved. And at that point, I believe they say that Shiva, Lord Shiva, the destroyer of worlds, will destroy the world, whatever exactly that means, and the whole cycle of the yugas will begin again all over with Tetra Yuga, which was the first of the ages in the Hindu religion. Tetra Yuga was the golden age, so presumably we would return to some kind of golden age if any of it is actually true. It's just I don't know, mythology, if you look at it from another perspective. Anyway,
So
whatever.
is
Yes,
it, I've got another question.
yes,
It's just flowing now. Is there anything then that the people on earth, whether you be Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddha, is there
yes.
anything we can do to stop these Antichrist, Rothschild type people, you know.
What can we do? Well, I mean, you've got a tyranny being imposed on you, and any resistance is meant to be put down with not only absolute force, but with a death decree. You're dead. So I don't know, Andy. I mean, you can resist, but the price for resistance might be death. So what do? Do you renounce your religion? Do you renounce Jesus and accept the Talmudic New World Order and get the mark and carry on and survive? Or do you stand your ground and stick to your guns and not relent and not capitulate and not give in and not kowtow to the Antichrist? Well, I can tell you right now. Do you know this symbol, Andy? That's for the Antichrist.
Yeah.
I will not do that. Excuse me. I will not do the bidding of that POS. And you can figure out what that acronym stands for. I will not do anything that creep wants. Nothing whatsoever. So if I've just pronounced my death sentence, whatever, bring it on. I'd rather commit my life to Jesus than anything else.
That's amazing, isn't it? How we always seem to be controlled and told to do this and told to do that. And
Yeah.
then the biggest tool they have is fear. They love to make people afraid, and then when you're afraid, you be quiet.
Yeah. Well, indeed, throughout our lives, there's been a lot to be afraid of. But I mean, when it comes down to crunch time, when you're being threatened with submit or die, well, you just got to say, well, I mean, if I submit, that's not a life worth living. So yeah, take my head. Go ahead. Knock it off.
Absolutely.
Yeah. As William Wallace said, freedom at the top of his lungs when they were torturing the poor soul to death. Or as an American patriot once said, give me liberty or give me death. Absolutely. Because a man who is not free and does not exercise his free will is not living. It's a living death is what it is. Okay, Trump's Gaza plan is the final task before Messiah, inverted commas, Messiah, Antichrist. Okay, also in February 2025, the holy, inverted commas, Rabbi Yekutiel Fish of Jerusalem, who has a very fishy smell, author of the blog Sod Hashashimal. You know what? Sod that blog. Praised Trump's plan for Gaza genocide, but said it was part of the greater Israel project. Oh, goodness. Okay, so Fish said, everyone is focused on Gaza, but that is only one part of the end of days agenda, which has the Jews living in Israel's prophesied borders. The Torah explicitly includes Gaza. What Trump is doing is cleaning out Gaza of all the haters of the Antichrist state of Israel. they cannot be in Israel after the Messiah comes. Messiah, inverted commas. It just is their name for the Antichrist. He's no Messiah, certainly no Savior. He's an absolute tyrant nightmare. After the Messiah, the only people who can be in the biblical borders of Israel are those who believe he is one and his name is one. Okay, well, that's what I say to the Antichrist. You're one, all right? There's the one. My one figure to your oneness. This will include Gaza, half of Lebanon, and much of Jordan. Oh, God. Good Lord, Andy. Save us.
Well, they can always come on the show and talk about it if they want.
I suppose. Ah.
Yeah, it's a long subject, this one, and people, they've got limited time to listen to everything. That's why we do like these hour snippets so people can understand. But yeah, Patrick O'Carroll's blogs and George Foyne, they're a good pair of decent bloggers, and of course your website, Shakespeare's. Hang on, I'm even going to forget it already.
Shakespeare
Codex.
Shakespeare'sCodex.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy did the videos on there, and he did a great deal of work and effort putting that website together. So God bless him. It's not the first time he's done it, but I'll tell you one thing. It's the best work he's done for me, and all the time we've been friends, and that's a long time. It's a stunning piece of work. Great website. Very, very proud of it. Very happy with it. Thank you very much, Andy.
You've obviously got a professional version of that, which is now coming up.
Yeah, Shakespeare's Codex is a book I plan to publish in due course, and it should come out this year, I'm hoping.
That's on your friend's website as well. So, yeah, the more we can promote you, the better. And there's a lady coming on in 2 weeks' time.
Oh, yes?
If anybody's interested in publishing a book and getting it sold and making some money, she has the answers.
Is that right?
And you're going to tell her your story about publishing problems, and she might give you some tips. But she's also good at other stuff, which we're both interested in. Her name is Sarah Hathaway.
Hathaway.
Sarah Hathaway. That's kind of what's that word?
It's a fitting name because Anne Hathaway was the wife of Will Shakespeare from Stratford. Now, most people think of him as the author of the Shakespeare plays and works, but no, in fact, he was not. He was the front man. He just took the role of the author as an acting job. He was a professional actor, I'll give him that, and a good one, a good comedian. But he's made fun of and lampooned in the plays as Sir John Falstaff, which basically means the false spear, the false Shakespeare.
Yeah, she's got a blog. I'll see if I can put it up for you. It's so she's author of the Changing Earth series. It's a series of stories and books about the changing Earth. And she's author Sarah Hathaway.com. And I'll see if I can bring it up. The Changing Earth series by Sarah F. Hathaway. And she trusts Amazon and YouTube. So we have to find out what her secret is. She's also got a podcast. She's done a book called Day After Disaster, The Bitter End, about the post-apocalyptic world, battling nature's fury and societal collapse to protect the family and so on. Yeah. Actually, she might be just what we need.
Well, it doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. Always good to hear what other people.
If people want to listen to this show again, it's always on. I've sent Tim the link. It's always on Freedom Talk Radio live shows. So whether it's a live show or one afterwards, it's always on Freedom Talk Radio online.com and then live shows. Failing that, it's on Freedom Talk Radio YouTube channel.